Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still losing momentum in the shorter term as the price continues to play out this short-term warning signal, but the price of Solana is now flashing a new signal in the short term that we need to pay attention to, while XRP is now retesting this key Fibonacci level, acting as critical support. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the 4-day Bitcoin price chart, and right now the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bullish trend. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, at least for now, the MACD is still looking more bullish than it is bearish because we've not yet confirmed any new bearish crossover. But with that being said, and like I've said recently here on the channel, we are slowing the bullish momentum, at least for now. And we can compare this signal that we're seeing currently in the weekly Bitcoin MACD to what we saw in around middle of March 2024, and what came next was obviously a slowdown in all of this bullish momentum. So keep that in mind. We've not yet confirmed an actual bearish crossover, so technically we can still remain bullish here, but we are slowing down. And this could possibly cause this weekly bearish divergence to potentially confirm in just a number of hours from now. We have this next weekly candle close officially confirming, and if we see this candle close in the red as a bearish engulfing candle as it's currently forming as of recording this video, that could possibly be one confirmation signal to confirm this new bearish divergence on the weekly time frame, with clearly higher highs already confirmed in the price in the weekly candle closes and lower highs potentially about to be confirmed here in the weekly Bitcoin RSI. And now, of course, two confirmations is usually what we end up looking out for, so potentially we might have to wait for another week for the next weekly candle close to properly confirm the bearish divergence. But with that being said, this would at least be one confirmation signal, an initial confirmation of the new bearish divergence. So keep that in mind. This is a sign on the larger time frames, on the weekly time frame, that we are potentially due to see a larger slowdown. Not necessarily a bear market like what we saw in 2022, but potentially just slowing down the bullish momentum, because we did see a bearish divergence play out right here, which confirmed around January this year. Near the beginning of this year, we saw this bearish divergence right here officially confirm, and then that ultimately played out in the form of obviously a major pullback in the price, not necessarily a bear market once again, but a decent pullback over the next couple of months. And we did see a smaller bearish divergence which confirmed for the price of Bitcoin on the weekly time frame around July 2023. So we had higher highs confirmed in the price and lower highs in the weekly Bitcoin RSI, and ultimately we saw a pullback over the following 1 month, 1 to 2 months. And so we just have to be aware of this possible warning signal which is about to confirm based on the current information here. And if we're taking a look at this 3-day time frame, at least for now, and like I've been saying many times over the last 1 to 2 weeks, obviously we are already slowing down in the 3-day Bitcoin MACD, moving closer towards a possible bearish crossover, but we're not at the bearish crossover yet. So there's still some hope in the short term, but with that being said, we're clearly losing bullish momentum already. And so technically we have not yet invalidated this bullish trend, especially on the daily time frame. Technically speaking, we're still forming higher lows and higher highs. At least for now, this is still bullish price structure, still technically a bullish trend. So once again, like I just said, there is still hope here for Bitcoin to remain within the bullish trend. It's not over, but we are simply losing momentum. So we have to keep this in mind, moving closer towards possible bearish crossovers. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, we do have some major support at roughly around 102,000, give or take. So keep that in mind. If we see a little bit more of a pullback, expect a lot of support around there. And we do have this level, which is currently acting as a bit of resistance at close to 105 to 106,000, give or take. And above that, we have some major resistance at 110,000 and also at around 112,000. And if the price of Bitcoin were to break below around 102,000 with candle closes on the daily time frame below 101 to 102,000, in that situation, we would likely see a drop down towards this next area of support in between around 96,000 to 98,000. But remember, that's only if we first break below around 101 to 102,000. So for now, that is the strong support to pay attention to. And of course, one of the reasons as to why we've seen a pullback in the shorter term lacking momentum is due to this bearish divergence, which has already confirmed and has been actively playing out for roughly 1 week now here on the 12-hour Bitcoin price chart, as I've been saying every day since when it basically confirmed around a week ago. And technically, because we've not yet confirmed any invalidation signal to invalidate the bearish divergence, at least for now, the RSI, for example, is still trending in the bearish direction. This is a sign of weakness telling us that this is still influencing the price of Bitcoin and that we should not necessarily expect a significant amount of bullish momentum, at least anytime soon, and we're most likely going to see weakness in the price. So not necessarily a massive crash straight to the downside like this, but weakness in the short term. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, currently we have a lot of liquidity starting to build just below the price again, sitting at around 103,000 approximately. So keep that in mind. Usually, not always, but usually the price of Bitcoin tends to move towards where there's a lot of liquidity, especially if it's relatively close to the price of Bitcoin here in the short term. And so obviously this is telling us that it is quite likely we could potentially see another test of that 103k level just to take out that liquidity right there. And also remember that we do have major support based on these lows at roughly around 102,000, like I said earlier. And so considering all of this information, what is most likely going to happen here in the short term? And well, right now, once again, like I just said, expect weakness. So not necessarily a massive amount of bullish momentum, but now that we're starting to run into this major support, getting closer towards significant support, potentially that could be a stopping point for now in this pullback, which means we could likely see perhaps a bit of sideways price action around this area as the price still plays out this weakness, a lack in bullish momentum, but fails to go lower, at least in the shorter term here, now that we're running into key support. And that could likely be the case over the weekend. Usually over the weekends, we see lower trading volumes, so we might not necessarily see a massive move over the weekend, but then perhaps on Monday or Tuesday, as the stock market starts opening back up again, we may end up seeing some more volatility and another decisive move in the price of Bitcoin. And so with all of that in mind, what is my trading strategy for the price of Bitcoin? And well, right now, obviously, I'm still in the swing trade long position, which I've been talking about every day for over a month now on the channel, since much lower prices. I said since then, obviously, the trend is bullish. I'm bullish on the trend, despite seeing short-term pullbacks along the way and short-term points of weakness. And the point where that would change and basically see a breakdown in the price structure, possibly reversing the bullish trend, would be if we break below these lows right here at around 101 to 102,000. If we break below that point, obviously that would be a significant change in price structure, possibly pointing towards a bearish trend reversal. And so that is why that level on the price chart, 101 to 102,000, is very important to pay attention to. And that's why I have my stop loss just below that area on the price chart in order to basically close the trade automatically at that level if the price breaks to the downside below that level. And so overall, I've made no new changes to this position over the last one day. As you can see, my current realized profits are the same that they were yesterday. So no new changes here, still making a lot of easy money in the crypto market. And of course, if you want to also do this for yourself and take these trading opportunities as I share them here on the channel, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I'm taking this trade right here over on 2bit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, you can get some massive trading bonuses over on 2bit that are only available using that link. And in case you're wondering, 2bit is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want 2bit as an exchange, there's also BTNex as another exchange out there that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to BTNex below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page where you can also claim some massive trading bonuses, like for example, up to 35,000 in USDT only using that link just by trading crypto, and also deposit bonuses. Like for example, if you deposit just $1,000, you get a $200 bonus into your new BTNex account, but only if you use that link. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, like what I'm doing right here, or if you're preparing to take the next trading opportunity, you might as well get set up ready to go using the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim these massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And in case you're wondering, BTNex is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, and of course Ethereum is still bouncing around between support and resistance on this daily chart in this sideways price range, as I've been talking about over the last 1 to 2 weeks. And so ultimately, I continue to expect a lack in momentum in the shorter term to either direction. So no significant bullish momentum and no significant bearish momentum, at least in the short term. Once again, we're simply just bouncing around between support and resistance, looking relatively neutral. And that's exactly what I've been predicting for the last 1 to 2 weeks. And obviously, over the last 1 to 2 weeks, ever since I made that prediction, we've been perfectly playing this out as expected. And as for support and resistance to watch out for in this sideways price range, first of all, we have this significant area of resistance in between around 2.7K to 2.8K. So that is still the strong resistance to pay attention to. And only if we see a confirmed breakout with candle closes confirming above 2.8K and actually actually holding above that level, only in that situation I would expect to move up towards this next Fibonacci level, which is sitting at around 3.2k to 3.3k. But once again, for now, we're still finding a lot of resistance in between 2.7k to 2.8k. And as for support, we have this level at around 2.4k approximately, and also a bit of short-term support at around 2460, give or take. And if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 6-hour time frame, obviously a couple of days ago we already confirmed the break to the downside for this triangle pattern here, activating a short-term bearish price target for this break to the downside, which is sitting at around 2250 approximately. And already from the point of the breakdown to the current price as of recording this video, we've fallen around 2 to 3%, or to the low point around 4 to 5%. But technically from the current price as of recording this video to this price target, that's still potentially another 10% move towards the downside. But as always, it's important to understand that between the current price and this price target, we have other points of support that I just mentioned where the price can also bounce at. So for example, we do have short-term support based on these lows right here, sitting at approximately 2470, give or take. So like I just said, around 2460 to 2470 as short-term support here. And below that level, we have more support at just under 2.4k. And then once we start breaking below this low in particular, then I'll really be focusing on this price target at around 2250, because obviously between this low and this price target, we don't really have a lot of support in that area. And as always, the point of invalidation for a break like this would be if we break out back to the upside above the point of the breakout. So if we start breaking out back above around 2.6k approximately, with candle closes back above that level, in that situation that would invalidate this break to the downside for this triangle pattern and invalidate the price target. And so as always, not financial advice because I don't know your personal financial situation, but an example of a trading strategy based on a situation like this would be, for example, opening a short position once we confirm the break to the downside here, shorting the move towards the downside, towards the price target, and then at key points of support, and also as we approach the price target, taking profits around these levels, not closing the entire trade at any one of these levels, but slightly reducing the size of the trade, taking a small amount of profits at each of these levels is personally what I usually do in these sort of situations. And when it comes to a stop loss, of course, when we're opening the trade, the stop loss is on the other side of the point of invalidation in order to avoid further losses in the worst case scenario for the trade if the trade just invalidates. And then as the trade moves further into profits, personally I like to move my stop loss further into profits alongside the trade. And so that's just an example of a trading strategy, and of course that's pretty much what I did with this Bitcoin trade that's worked out very well over the last 1 month or so. But once again, that's just a short-term trading strategy, an example of a strategy for the price of Ethereum just on this 6-hour time frame. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the daily time frame, obviously Solana is also very much lacking bullish momentum in the shorter term. In fact, unlike Ethereum, which is relatively neutral, Solana is of course looking more bearish in the short term than it is bullish. And so as I've already mentioned recently here on the channel, obviously the price of Solana is clearly forming bearish price structure now, forming especially this lower low below this previous low, breaking below key support. That was a strong bearish signal, at least in the shorter term. And of course, we played out this short-term bearish price target exactly as predicted, which I'll talk about in just a moment, and this new signal to watch out for. But for now, when it comes to support and resistance to watch out for, I'll be focusing on around 165 to 167 as key resistance if we were to see a bounce here, and above that, more resistance at around 184 to 185, and also in between 191 to 200. And as for support, I would expect a lot of support in between roughly 143 to 146, give or take, basically based on this low right here, and also this Fibonacci level at around 146. And if we were to break below this low right here, roughly around 143, 144, in that situation, we could potentially see a move down towards around 136, or possibly even down towards around 124 if we first break below this support. And if we're zooming into the shorter term, taking a look at the 4-hour Solana price chart, obviously over the last few days, we perfectly played out this bearish break to the downside here. Just like I said for Ethereum, obviously we had that trading strategy for the price of Solana as well, which I shared here on the channel, since this break right here. And so at this point, I said, obviously, an example of a trading strategy would be to short the price of Solana towards this technical price target and then start to take profits potentially around key support and the price target. And that's exactly what played out as predicted. Obviously, we exactly hit the price target here before we are now starting to bounce a little bit. And so, for example, measuring that move, if you took this trading opportunity from the point of the breakdown here to this price target, that was around an 11% move towards the downside approximately. And obviously, with a 10x leverage short position, for example, that would be more than a 100% profit, doubling your money during a pullback like this. So this is an example of how we can easily profit in the crypto market, even if the price is bearish. But like I said in my last video, obviously we already just hit that price target, which means the price target is complete. We've already played out this pattern, and now we have a new signal to focus on, which is just now confirming in the shorter term for the price of Solana on this 4-hour time frame, which is of course a bullish divergence. We have lower lows confirmed in the price in the candle closes and higher lows now starting to confirm in the 4-hour Solana RSI. And so the opposite to a bearish divergence, this now means we're most likely going to see a break from all of the bearish price action here, and most likely going to see a bit of a relief in the short term. So either some slight bullish price action or maybe a bit of a sideways consolidation. So basically a break from all of the bearish momentum. And now a bullish divergence does not mean we're going to see a major pump straight to the upside like this. Once again, just like how a bearish divergence does not necessarily mean we're going to see a major crash straight to the downside. A bearish divergence just means weakness and lacking bullish momentum, and a bullish divergence means the opposite. So that's what I expect in the shorter term for the price of Solana over the next 1 or 2 days as the most likely outcome based on this new bullish divergence. And with that being said, taking a look at the price of XRP on the daily time frame, and currently XRP is retesting this key Fibonacci level, which has been acting as major support, and that's sitting at roughly around $2.14, but really in between around $2.10 to $2.15. That is the area to focus on when it comes to support, because previously we found a lot of support in this area, and once again we have this Fibonacci level also in that area in between 210 to 215. So for now, that's the support to focus on once again. And if we were to break below around $2.10 with confirmation, so candle closes confirming below this area of support, in that situation I would expect some more support at around $2.05 and also closer towards $2. But if we break below especially $2, that would be very bad for the XRP and likely point towards a drop down towards around 180 to 170. But obviously for now, once again, we're still finding support in this first area that I just mentioned. And as for resistance, I would expect a lot of resistance in between around $2.30 to $2.34, more resistance at $2.44, and more resistance in between $2.56 to $2.62. And just over the weekend, honestly, I expect not so much bullish or bearish price action, so kind of lacking momentum just for the weekend. It's most likely we could see a slight little relief from all of the bearish price action here, especially while Solana, for example, plays out a bit of a relief that can influence other cryptos like XRP, for example. But overall, we're still in this larger stage of weakness in the market, especially while Bitcoin is still playing out this bearish divergence and possibly a larger bearish divergence on the weekly time frame. So keep that in mind. The current situation is that we are currently weak, but just for the weekend, I expect a bit of a break from the bearish price action. And so that is what I'm expecting in the shorter term, and of course the larger situation here. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, it's also a very similar situation for Chainlink. Just for the weekend, we could likely see a bit of a break from all of this bearish price action here, once again just for the weekend. But overall, we are clearly seeing bearish price structure the moment we broke below this golden pocket again, which was sitting in between around 1490 to 1550. And we are also possibly at risk of forming a new head and shoulders pattern, which would be a bearish price pattern if it confirms. And in order to confirm a possible head and shoulders here, we need to actually see a bit of a bounce in a short term in the coming days or weeks, and then a rejection from the golden pocket, and then a break below this neckline, which is sitting at roughly $13.50. But for now, that possible head and shoulders pattern is not currently confirmed. Once again, we first need to form the right shoulder and then confirm the break to the downside. So for now, it's just something to pay attention to in case it continues forming. And as for support and resistance to watch out for, once again, we do have this level of support that I just mentioned at around $13.50 based on this previous low. And below that, we have this Fibonacci level acting as support at around $12.80. But if we break below that level, and especially break below around $12.20, below this low just here, in that situation, we could likely see a move back down towards around $10. But obviously, between now and those much lower prices, we have those other levels levels of support to focus on where the price would likely bounce at. And as for resistance, once again, expect a lot of resistance in between 1490 to 1550, and also a lot of resistance at around 1750 to 1760. And so those are the key levels to watch out for on the price chart for the price of Chainlink. And overall, those are my expectations in the shorter term. Once again, just a bit of a break over the weekend, but overall seeing bearish price structure, seeing weakness for the price. But once again, no matter what direction the price goes, whether we're bullish or bearish, you can trade in both directions using long positions or short positions. And of course, if you want to take those trades like what I'm doing right here to easily profit in the market, get set up ready to go using the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can take trades just like this to make a lot of easy profits for yourself, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen, because the video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.